Cashiers of Reddit, what was the worst time you blew up on a customer? At a pawn shop. The lady paid me with a $20 and I gave her change. She flipped up because she knew she'd given me a $100 bill. She screamed, cursed, and called me every name in the book. Just lost her mind. The whole time. She's saying she knew she paid with a $100 bill but she'd just put one in her wallet earlier. I asked her repeatedly to just check her wallet then to see if the $100 bill was still there or not. She just kept yelling she didn't need to check because she knew she'd given it to me. Eventually she checked and all the anger just blew out of her. She was mortified. The $100 bill was there. Itch. I work at Disney World. One time I had a particularly rude guest. In the end I told them to have a great day. Not a magical day. Well, you just magically lost your job. When I worked at Subway in high school there was this guy in his 30s that came in with his wife almost every day. He was a big dig and talked to you like an idiot. Not because he was in a bad mood either. Because he thought it was funny to be honest to kids working fast food jobs. One day I had enough and took his sandwich I was in the middle of making and spiked it into the garbage can and told him to duck off. He told me I couldn't talk to customers that way and I told him I just did, you retard. He called the owner and dropped my name. We had name tags, and she told him that if I blew up on him like that it was probably deserved and asked him to not return. I for sure thought I was fired. Lucky for me the owner knew exactly what customer she was talking to and knew me good enough to know it'd take salad to get me irritated and that I wouldn't do something like that for no reason. I was working at a coffee shop in a busy downtown area. There was a businessman that was notorious for being abusive with our staff. One morning he came in and ordered a coffee and a cranberry scone. We happened to be out of cranberry scones that day. And when I informed him of this he flew off the handle and started swearing at me. I looked him square in the eye and said, "You're a grown man throwing a temper tantrum over a cranberry scone. Sort your life out." I then calmly turned to the next customer. The next day he apologized and was never a problem again. This wasn't me. But I was involved. When I was in high school I worked at a shoe store. The one with that ducking prize wheel from hell. We did this buy one get one half off sale all the time. The way it works is you buy a more expensive pair and you get the cheaper of the two half off. Otherwise we'd lose money. So this woman comes in and buys two pair of kids shoes. Looks at the receipt and thinks that $50 is too much for her smaller child. So she returns them. She then proceeds to flip out because the difference for the other pair came out of the refund. I called the manager and he came up and she says he's a foster kid. He's not worth a $50 pair of shoes. Stop trying to rob me and give me my ducking money. So manager refunded her the entire bill and took both pair of shoes and walked off. We all gave her the silent treatment until she left. Angrily. I feel bad for both children and her husband who were just standing there quietly. The day I quit my job last year. I knew in the morning I was quitting that day and in the morning one of the itchiest customers came in complaining about a product not working. Yet again. This was just a regular occurrence that happened with this particular customer. After about half an hour I just told her to go and duck herself and I can be asked listening to her anymore. I then proceeded to call my boss and tell him I quit. I honestly don't remember this. But my co-workers do. And apparently was a customer yelled at me. "Go to hell." And I yelled back, "I'll see you there." My sis and I say this to each other a lot, for funsies, and it's the only reason I believe I may have said this to an in-red customer. But one I did remember was a customer brought up a sandwich that apparently looked awful to her. She held it out to me and said, "Would you eat this?" And without missing a beat I said, "Yes." That shocked her into silence for a good few seconds. I was being honest. The sandwich looked fine to me. I was a server years ago and this woman, usually a pretty nice lady, comes in and apparently we had messed up her salmon a few days prior so the manager had given her a free meal card which is good for one single meal. Well, a few days later she comes in with at least 15 people about an hour before we closed, and they all order seafood and steak and wine, and her whole party is awful to me and my friend who is another server. One guest even threw his plate on the ground, breaking it and throwing food all over because his steak was overcooked. After all of this, the other server went to take the woman her check, and it was a couple $100, and she whips out the free meal card. The server takes it to the register, comps one of the meals off, and comes back with a new total, and the woman loses it. I have a free meal card. This was one meal for all of us. It should be free, and the server just stiffens up and politely explains that that isn't how it works, and stresses that she had to have known that she couldn't have brought 15 people in here and expected free meals for everyone. The woman stands up and pours her red wine all over my friend, and my friend just goes what the duck and runs to the back to get the manager. She kept her calm honestly, but the manager flipped and told her to get the hell out and never come back. That was a crazy night. I had a guy come through my register once wanting to put some stuff on his store credit card. He didn't have the card or any ID, so I couldn't ring him through. Technically I could, but against SOP. He started screaming at me saying that everyone knew him there and that he was a regular. I was at my job for over a year and never saw that man once in my time working there before this incident. I told him no, I couldn't ring him through without the card or ID, but I could hold his stuff at register until he comes back. He proceeded to get more belligerent and in my face, so I told him in an assertive tone, you need to leave. You can't be yelling at staff. He leaves, then comes back an hour later to buy his stuff, but still no ID or card. I proceed to tell him I can't ring him in again, so he starts screaming bloody murder, wanting the ASM to come. Stupid ASM has no spine and tells me to ring the guy through, then goes back to the floor or wherever he was before. As soon as the ASM left, I told the customer to leave and that he wasn't welcome at the store anymore. Never saw him again after that. Not cashier, but now ex-bartender, and this was a while ago, so I may not have everything that's said 100% correct. Right after we closed one Friday or Saturday night, I was sent to sweep up a broken glass that happened to be next to a table where a couple of girls were still sat finishing their last drinks. The DJ had just stopped playing music. Bouncers were in the process of asking everyone to leave. A lot of the broken glass happened to be under where one of the girls was sitting, so I politely said, please can I ask you to move so I can sweep up this broken glass? She gave me a really dirty look, downed her drink, threw her glass on the floor next to her, so I now had twice as much to sweep up, and said, you can't make me move anywhere. Itch, get out. We're closed and I already asked you politely. My manager heard, came over and asked what happened. I told him and he just went, okay. You're barred to the girl. It was so satisfying when she tried arguing with him and he got the bouncers to escort her from the building. I only ever lost it on a customer once. When I was working at an office supply store. Customer was one of those self-important money pusher types. Came in during the lunch rush on a day when we were short-handed. He wanted to buy a phone. I normally would have helped him, but I was stuck on register. I did everything I could to help this guy anyway. When I was finally able to focus on him exclusively, he launched into a lecture along the lines of how he specifically was the most important person in the store. And I lost it. I barely remember what I said to guy. I know I tried to walk away first, but he pushed it. I ended up tearing into him so badly he basically ran from the store. And the assistant manager on duty was too stunned to do anything about the incident. I hated that job. Quit. Not long after. I don't know how fast food places find workers. People are so rude to them. It blows my mind. It's almost like some people go to fast food places with the mindset that they are going to be assholes. Oftentimes they can't find workers, or they burn through them really quickly. The ones left are just the ones broken, desperate, or masochistic enough to stay. Source: cashier at a fast food place. I work on customer services in a retail shop and have to do a lot of refunds. It's the store policy that we don't refund anything unless the customer has a receipt. So I have to deal with a lot of angry customers. If they really piss me off, when they walk off I do a ton on reading out the policy so they hear it as they leave the shop. A woman wanted to bud in line to purchase a banana in a busy express accessible queue. I asked her to go take her proper place after budding a customer in a wheelchair and she said go to hell. I replied, after you. Last night. Actually. I work at a hotel and around 10:30ish a woman called down very upset about noise from outside. The hotel is downtown and it was Saturday night and also 4/20. People were partying. Anyway. She tells me to fix it now. And I inform her that noise ordinance for our city as far as private residences go doesn't kick in until midnight. So I can't do anything until then as far as calling the cops goes. I offer to move her to a different room on another side of the hotel away from the noise source. She refuses, saying it was late. She demanded I come up with another solution. I tell her there isn't one. I can call the cops. But they won't do anything until at least midnight. Probably later. I again tell her that we have other rooms in quieter area of the hotel. But she begins to shout that she doesn't want to move and just wants me to make them be quiet. This is when I flipped. I didn't yell at her. But I said something along the lines of, "Mom, I have offered you the only solution I have to this problem. And you have refused it twice. At this point, I can't do anything to help you." She blew up and threatened to call our corporate office. And I told her she was welcome to do that. That I looked forward to speaking with them. And gave her my name. Then I hung up on her. Not the most entertaining. But goddamn was that frustrating. I was once a cashier at a smaller little store. I was doing my usual routine helping customers. When this couple walks in. It was a slow day so I just happened to notice them. As I'm sort of walking around. Asking if anyone needs help with anything. I see the couple from earlier just crashing their shopping cart into everything. We had this stand up that held almost 100 sunglasses and they just rammed right into it. I asked the lady why she did that and she just stares at me for a solid 5 seconds. Then spits in my face and flips me off. I lost my sheet. Nobody does that to me. I ducking tackled Derek. Serves her right. In the end they just ended up getting kicked out by my manager. I used to work at CVS. One day I had a customer who was incessantly complaining about how the toothpaste he was buying was a lot cheaper at Walmart. He even pulled out his phone and showed me a chart that compared the prices of it at different stores. I didn't blow up on him really. I just acted very uninterested and said go to Walmart. Then. One of my favorite times when I was working at Walmart in the deli. Some itchy woman said something like, "Why can't you make the chicken like they do at Price Chopper? It's way better." And I just said go there then. Like why would I give a single solitary duck? Lol. It wasn't me but I was part of it. This customer was eating our buffet for a sport game of some sort. It had wings, pretzels, mozzarella sticks, etc. This huge man comes in and he get the buffet. Him and his date eat about 5/6 plates worth of food. The guy came up to me and said the food was not that good and he was not willing to pay the $30-ish for the 2 buffets when it was no good. I then grabbed our manager, a total barda he was awesome, I could tell stories about him all day, and he told him off so hard explaining that he had so much food and didn't complain when people checked on him etc. The guy was so baffled that we didn't just straight up comp his meal, he didn't know what to say. If I remember correctly this guy was on a date with a fairly new woman too. Great early impression he must have made. I work in an anime store in the mall. One of the things we have is a wall of pop Funkos. This guy brought up like 10 to the register and was just being ridiculously impatient the entire time. Our cash register is a little more than a calculator. So punching in each thing can take some time. Before I even hand him his receipt. He shouts at me saying, "Can I get a duck-ein bag ? So I said we don't have any. Watching him waddle out of the store with 10 pops stacked high made me feel better. I worked in the tech shop at a computer. A customer came to the counter. Was unhappy. And ended up spiting in my manager's face. My normally calm ex-army ranger manager reaches over the counter. Grabbed the guy by the collar. and told him he has 10 seconds to leave the store or he will be leaving by ambulance. The general public is terrible. One time, I was working the register at Chick-fil-A. Wasn't having a bad day at work, the register was fun. Anyway, this middle-aged woman comes up to my post with equally aged men on either side of her. She starts ordering. I'm punching in things as usual. Now, the restaurant had this piece of protocol in which you confirm the desired items as you punch them in. Just helping the customer be absolutely sure about their order and that I put it in correctly. I punch something in and try to confirm the previous item. Sparking a rather annoyed yes, duck no. I wasn't getting paid to be itched out for doing what I'm told. I knew I had to shut her attitude down before it got worse. So, I responded with I'm just checking in an equally annoyed tone. We then made eye contact. Her expression borderline angry and mine vacant and blank. I didn't want to escalate the situation with my facial expression. The transaction proceeded without incident. I get that what I did was tame. But it takes a lot to get me yelling. Especially at someone else. That was basically my version of a low-level freakout. Thought a guy was trying to pull the old I gave you a $20 routine when I handed him back his change. We went back and forth. I demanded he turn out his pockets to prove he wasn't bulleting me. Nearly came to blows. Turns out I dropped the $5 I owed him on the floor when I took the bills out of the drawer. I was super sleep deprived and didn't notice. I was the asshole. Sorry man. It was my last day of working in a common retail chain. 20 minutes before my shift ended, I was helping a middle-aged woman do a return and exchange with coupons. She was getting agitated because our coupon policies are very strict and she was giving me attitude. I looked at her straight in the eye and took a deep sigh. This is my last day. I'm supposed to leave in 5 minutes without smiling. She immediately became quiet and was way more cooperative.